Hello, everyone. I think I'm live. I can't quite tell yet, but welcome in. Everyone is coming in. Hello, I'm Quinn the GM. Welcome back to the channel. And as I'm sure you can tell from the title and description and thumbnail of this video, which is currently on my screen, which hopefully you can see if it is indeed working, which I'm not yet sure it is. It is working. That's great. But beyond that, so to give a bit of history on this channel that you might not know, because these days I'm about to talk about are very long ago and I was not very well known at that point, but if we go back to my channel here and we sort by oldest, you'll see that all of my old videos are about Dungeons and Dragons. My face is in all of them from a million years ago, which is why I was surprised that people were surprised to see my face on TikTok, because my face has been revealed for literally forever. But yeah, I talked about D&D for a very long time on this channel until about the first season of House of the Dragon. Then I made one video on it talking about why Viserys II Targaryen, let me see if I can find it, was my favorite Targaryen king. Yep, it's right here, and it did way better than anything else I had ever done. As you can see, like, the views here are like 900, 300, and then jumping to 136,000. So I figured I would jump from talking about my favorite tabletop role-playing game to my favorite book series of all time, and the rest is history. That is why I have ended up talking about A Song of Ice and Fire. But today, I thought I would blend both of those passions. Specifically, I think there is some genre overlap in A Song of Ice and Fire and Dungeons and Dragons, so I'd had the thought to create characters for A Song of Ice and Fire characters. For those of you who might not be at all familiar with Dungeons and Dragons, which I believe would probably be some of you, it is a game where you effectively are able to create a character and then you play the part of that character with other individuals at effectively a table, and one person, the dungeon master or game master, which is why I'm Quinn the GM. It's not George Martin, unfortunately, though some of my comments would have you believe that. So each person creates their own character and they interact with the world as that character. It's very fun. It has been one of my favorite pastimes for many, many years now, though these days in law school, I definitely have less time to play than I would like. I haven't really had a game going in a hot minute here, given the fact that I do have, assignments and YouTube and all of that stuff that I have to deal with on a daily basis. But I figured this would be a fun outlet, combining both my current A Song of Ice and Fire YouTube passion with my old Song of Ice and, not A Song of Ice and Fire, Dungeons and Dragons habits. So also be sure to like the stream. I really appreciate it. If you do, subscribe to the channel. Feel free to donate or super chat. Those are things you can do that I always forget to mention on streams. If you want to ask any questions or have me discuss any theories or suggest other characters for me to do in this style, because if people enjoy this, I would love to make this a series, and doing all that stuff does really help the stream. So getting into things, I will be using D&D Beyond, which is the main online platform. I believe it is officially owned by Wizards of the Coast, which is the company that owns Dungeons and Dragons at this point. So I'll be using that. I'll also be using the D&D 2024 rules. So for those who aren't as familiar, D&D has these differing editions that come out every, decade, sometimes more, sometimes less, depends on how much people like any version of the game, but this newest version came out last year, as the name would imply, and it's effectively a half step from the previous edition, 5th edition, which was the most successful version of Dungeons and Dragons ever. So they very much wanted to follow that up with a version that is semi-compatible with it, and I think they've done a pretty good job. I haven't played a ton of it, but the main thing that I like is that it kind of brings a lot of the older things that were published earlier in 5e's lifespan back into line power-wise with some of the OP stuff that has been released in recent years. Let's see. So, just so everyone knows, going through my settings here, I'm having, all of the settings are on milestone advancement, because I'm not going to be giving Victarion XP points, and also XP points are a pain in the ass regardless. Hit point is fixed, because I don't feel like rolling for his hit points. Feats and multi-class requirements. I might revisit this multi-class thing if certain things come to pass. I might make a poll about that in the chat in a little bit. But yeah, encumbrance, no encumbrance, because encumbrance is kind of boring, and I've never been a fan of it, because it just kind of weighs the game down, literally in most cases, and scores top, because that's the right way to do it. Biggest numbers should be on top. So first going through, Victarion Greyjoy class is the first thing to consider here. Actually, I should say, the reason I picked Victarion specifically, in addition to him being the greatest, and the fact that Martin can't seem to kill him, is the fact that I think he's probably the closest to a Dungeons & Dragons character Martin has written in A Song of Ice and Fire. He has tended to write the series as though it were, 50 different D&D campaigns happening at the same time, but Victarion is the one who is very much kind of leveling up and going on quests, and is dumb as a stump. Scores on top, what you made. No, it's the right way to do it. I am 100% correct on that. But Victarion Greyjoy, I'm willing to die on this hill, I'm sure I'll get some debate in the comments, is a barbarian. Barbarians are a class. Let's read the little sentence description here. Barbarians are mighty warriors who are powered by primal forces of the multiverse that manifest as rage. That very much fits for Victarion Greyjoy. He is someone who is driven by this rage and resentment and inadequacy within himself, and I think that is very much in line for his character. The main thing that I could see people contesting about this class assignment is the fact that Victarion is known to wear armor on ships, and that is something that is kind of antithetical, if I could speak, to barbarians, as they are known to be unarmored combatants who are able to just shrug off blows while wearing nothing but a loincloth. But it is worth noting that barbarians do have proficiency in, where is that? I believe they have proficiency in medium armor, which will factor in here. So he will be wearing some armor. There is an armor in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and I guess 5.5, that's what you want to call this one, called Half Plate. And given the fact that he wears plate in the series itself, I think it fits pretty well as a type of armor for him to be using in this version. So I think that we'll go with Barbarian. Level is another consideration. So levels are pretty interesting. There are effectively different tiers of play in Dungeons & Dragons, specifically that, First tier of play is levels 1 through 4. They're known as local heroes, so at this level of power, you're not really able to impact the world as a whole, but you are able to, help the people around you at any given point. That I don't think quite fits for Victarion. I think he's a little stronger than that. Level 5 to 8, I believe, is like Heroes of the Region, so slightly higher, and then it's Heroes of the Realm, I believe, which is 11 through 16. Sorry, no, it was 5 through 10, it must be. And then after that is like Heroes of the Multiverse. I don't think that Victarion is a hero of the multiverse, not until the Winds of Winter, at least, where that plot line will be revealed. My gut would say like level... It's between 7 and 10 in my head. Let's see what a 10th level barbarian looks like and go from there. Weapon mastery, brutal strike. Let's go. I'm going to go like level 8. I think that'll give us some fun room to work with, and I think it does fit with Victarion's overall trajectory. But before we're getting into the class abilities, I also want to... Actually, you know what? I'll just go through this in normal order. I'm used to the different order that was the case for the original 5e. But yeah, let's take a look at what he's got here. So, core barbarian traits he gains at the first level. He gets a d12 hit dice, so that means anytime he levels up, we roll a d12, and that determines how many hit points he gets for the level itself. That's the highest it can possibly be, so he's going to be very beefy. He's going to be a tank. He has strength and constitution saving throws. We'll get to explaining what those are when we get to the ability scores. He gets skills in animal handling, athletics, intimidation, nature, perception, and survival. He gets all weapons, all armor except heavy armor, and some starting equipment that I'll get into later. We won't quite do starting equipment because Victarion has more stuff than just what he would be starting with at any given point. So looking at skills here, I think the two that fit the best would be athletics and intimidation for Victarion. So skills in Dungeons & Dragons, for those who don't know, are these effectively things that a dungeon master can ask you to roll for at any given time. If your character is trying to do something in the game, in the story, they will often be asked to make a skill check. And being proficient in those skills mean that you've been trained or you're in some way gifted in those skills. And I think that Victarion is very gifted in athletics and in intimidation. He also gets rage at first level, which is the bread and butter ability of the barbarian. So, you can imbue yourself with primal power, called Rage, a force that grants you extraordinary might and resilience. And I think this very much fits with Victarion catching blades with his bare hands. You can enter it as a bonus action, which we don't quite need to get into here, if you aren't wearing heavy armor. So, he will not be wearing full plate at this point. You can enter the rage number of times equal to a certain number per your barbarian level. He also gets resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage while he is in the rage, which is excellent. He gets a bonus to his damage, which is excellent as well, because he'll be able to, hit people all the better with his axes, which we'll get into. He gets advantage on strength checks and saving throws, so he's more resistant to things that try to, hold him down or push him over. And additionally, he can't concentrate on spells, which, oh no, that's a big deal in the world of Ice and Fire. And it lasts for a while. Yeah, they upped it to 10 minutes in 5.5. It used to only be 1 minute. So yeah, that's pretty good. I see people in the chat saying, oh, explaining the rules for people who don't know D&D. I don't know. People might not. It's been a minute since my D&D days, and I don't know. I've gained about 70 times the subscribers, maybe more than that. So I would imagine at least some don't quite know what all of these things mean. Unarmored defense doesn't quite apply here. It means that you can be extra resilient to blows if you're not wearing any armors. Weapon mastery is a new thing in this new edition that I haven't done a ton with, but it means that whenever you hit with a certain type of weapon, you can deal additional effects anytime you do it. So it's like a free bonus. And I think for Victarion, antimatter rifle definitely fits the most. No. So some kind of axe would be my thought. Probably Great Axe. So Great Axe is two-handed. I feel like, does Victarion wield a shield? I think he has a shield in this one. Oh, it should be one-handed because he has his fire hand. Yeah, so we'll go Battle Axe instead of Great Axe. I think that'll be a little better. And then Hand Axe for range. So you can throw hand axes like Asha does. Oh no. I've done everything incorrectly. Hand Axe, Vex, good. So this means that if he hits somebody with a battle axe, he can knock them over, and if he hits somebody with a hand axe, he can make them a little easier to hit the next time he attempts to strike them. So yeah, and then he also gets danger sense, so when he is in combat, his senses are kind of heightened. He's able to react to things a little bit more quickly. So yeah, I think that very much fits as well. And reckless attack is even more Victarion. You can throw aside all concern for defense to attack with increased ferocity. This is such a fun mechanic that I really love. When you make your first attack roll on a turn, you can decide to attack recklessly. Doing this gives you advantage on all of your attack rolls, so that means that you roll 2 dice and take the higher of those 2 until the start of your next turn. So any attack you make on your turn or attack you make between your turns. But attack rolls against you also have an advantage. So you are kind of giving yourself more likelihood to hit your opponents, yet at the same time you are making yourself more vulnerable to damage. But you would also be resisting that damage. So it's an interesting kind of dichotomy there, and I love that design space. Barbarian subclass is another interesting one. In terms of direct 5.5 stuff, we've got 4 options, only 2 of which I would consider. Those being the Path of the Berserker and the Path of the Zealot. The Path of the Berserker is effectively this just warrior. He doesn't really get any abilities beyond just, hitting things better. And the Path of the Zealot focuses on sort of this religious fervor and this warfare derived from the gods, which makes me think that it would maybe fit a little better for Victarion as he stands at the end of A Dance with Dragons, given the fact that he is now representing both the drowned god and the Lord of Light. He has that fiery hand. He is a warrior of 2 gods, but I'm unsure. I'm going to make a poll in the chat because I forgot I can do that, and it's fun to do. How do I do that? That's a good question. Start a poll. Subclass. How do you spell Berserker? That's a real Victarion Greyjoy question I just asked, but let's see. Zealot. I know what my preference would be, but I'm going to keep that poll going in the chat for a minute. But yeah, also while you're down there, be sure to like the stream. I would really appreciate it. Because I do think it helps, boost it a little bit. I see Zealot seems to be winning at first. That was my thought as well. While we're debating subclass, we can also take a look at some other features. So Primal Knowledge is another thing. We get another skill of our choice from that list available to Barbarians. And additionally, this is such a fun flavor feature that they added in the new edition. While Rage is active, he can channel primal power when attempting certain things. So he can use Strength instead of any given ability for certain skill checks. So perception, stealth, intimidation, survival, acrobatics. If he's trying to, track somebody through the wilderness, he could rage and use strength to track them instead of wisdom, which is hilarious, and I just love that idea. I think that out of these skills, animal handling, nature, perception, survival. So if I'm thinking back to my days running a nautical D&D campaign in college, a lot of the kind of ship-related skill checks are survival checks for like navigation. So I'm going to make him proficient in survival because I don't think that animal handling fits unless he's going to be taming a dragon, which, maybe. Stranger things have happened. And then nature, probably not. Perception, he's not that perceptive. Zealot is about 70%, so I think I'll end the poll there because that looks pretty definitive. So yeah, that was my initial instinct. We will go with it. So being a zealot barbarian gives him a few extra things. So Path of the Zealot. Rage in ecstatic union with a god. That's such a cool tagline. Barbarians who walk the path of the zealot receive boons from a god or a pantheon. These barbarians experience their rage as an ecstatic episode of divine union that infuses them with power. They are often allies to the priests and other followers of their god or pantheon, which makes sense given his relationships with Makoro and his brother Aaron. So yeah, I'm really a fan of that. Is there a Storm subclass somebody's mentioning here? Yeah, Path of the Storm Herald from Guide to Everything. That could be interesting, but I think that it maybe would fit Euron better than it would fit Victarion, as there isn't much storm imagery with Victarion specifically. Other than him being, just a storm in combat. So, first ability he gets from that is Divine Fury. You channel divine power into your strikes. On each of your turns while your rage is active, the first creature you hit with a weapon or unarmed strike takes extra damage equal to 1d6 plus half your barbarian level, rounded down. The extra damage is necrotic or radiant. You choose the type each time you deal the damage. This makes sense. Maybe this is his fiery arm flaring up and dealing more damage. I could see either necrotic or radiant making a lot of sense in this case. And additionally, he gets Warrior of the Gods. A divine entity helps ensure you can stay in the fight. You have a pool of 4 d12s that you can spend to heal yourself. As a bonus action, you can expend dice from that pool, roll them, and regain hit points equal to the roll's total. Your pool regains all expended dice when you finish a long rest. So you get extra ones. Let's see. So you get an extra dice at level 6, so he now has 5. And beyond that, he'll get more at 12 and 17 if he, in fact, lives that long. But that is really cool and does speak to the relationship he has with the Lord of Light being based on his arm being healed at that point, which could be, very fun to draw from as well. He gets more weapon mastery here. I'm going to go Great Axe with this one just to keep on the axe train with Victarion. Let's see. Euron would be a Bard of Whispers. That could be cool. I think Euron would be some really, really weird multi-class build. I think he'd probably be like Bard, Warlock, I don't know, a bunch of things in one that would be very, very mechanically intensive, but work better than nearly anything else. So choosing a feat. Actually, before we get into feats and all the higher level stuff, we should go through the rest of making a character. Next up in 5.5e is background, which is quite interesting. Things have changed here. You used to get a bonus to your stats based on your ancestry, based on what fantasy race you were, but that changed in 2024, and now that's based on your background, which I quite like, given the fact that it is kind of your character's backstory having an active influence on the way they play in the present. I think that's very fun. I enjoy it. And I think is there a sailor background? There used to be a pirate background. Yeah, pirate from the okay, that's 2014. We'll just go with sailor because I think it's different between the two versions. But yeah, let's see what sailor does. So, his feat is Tavern Brawler, which is very fun. Enhanced Unarmed Strike, so his unarmed strikes do extra damage. It's a D4 instead of just 1. And then whenever you roll a damage die for an unarmed strike, you can re-roll it if it's a 1. And then additionally, you have proficiency with improvised weapons, and you get weapon mastery with that. So that is very, very neat. And it makes sense given the fact that Victarion is someone who seems like he'd be able to kill someone with pretty much anything he would get his hands on. He also gets 2 free skills from this, Acrobatics and Perception. The idea of Victarion Greyjoy doing acrobatics would be really fun, and I hope he gets to do some in the Winds of Winter, but we'll see. Ability scores. So Sailor background allows you to choose between Strength, Dexterity, and Wisdom. Increase one of these scores by 2 and another one by 1, or all 3 by 1. None of these scores can increase beyond a 20. Let's do stats first before we do that. So we'll do abilities. So in Dungeons & Dragons, there are different ways to generate your character's stats, and that varies depending on the table. At my tables, I tend to like to have players roll for their stats. It creates a lot more variability and makes you feel as though you're in more control of the character you're building. It makes for kind of less generic, and it can also lead to characters having higher highs and lower lows, which is very generally fun to just act out in roleplay, as would likely be the case with Victarion. So, looking at this here, the two methods I'm going back and forth between would be manual/rolled, where I'd effectively roll on this here character roller and make a determination based on that, or point buy, which allows you to start out with a certain number of points where you can purchase stats for a different amount in each case. So this could be Victarion stat spread if we wanted it to be, which honestly could fit pretty well. Regardless of that, I think that rolling for stats is probably the more fun way to do it, so I'm going to do that. Let's roll a new character. I reserve the right to re-roll if it's boring. This is kind of boring. I'm going to re-roll. Let's see, 70. That's not bad. That could be interesting. I don't know. I think 9 is not low enough. I'm going to keep re-rolling until we get to have a stat that is like an 8 or a 7 or lower. Just to, because I think we kind of need that for. Damn, that is a good roll. Why can't I roll that when I'm a player? That's pretty good. Let's see. We're getting some boring rolls here. Maybe we just go point buy. I'm gonna roll a few more times, and if I don't see anything particularly awe-inspiring, I'll go back to the thing that I've spurned here so recently. Let's see. Yeah, let's go gambling. These are the most boring stats I've seen in my entire life. That's also the disadvantage of rolling stats. You really don't have a ton of influence on what you're doing here. Damn, an 18. Holy shit. You know what? Yeah. This, I don't know if it's a 9 in intelligence. Here's what we'll do. I'm gonna let the spirit move me on this one. I'm not going to have more than like 75 stat points. This will not be like an overstated character, but we are going to just like see how things go. I think Victarion's intelligence is at about a 6. For those of you who have seen Critical Role, I think Grog is roughly the intelligence level of Victarion Greyjoy, though a much maybe more moral character in that instance. Wisdom I would put at about 9. I think that he's not unwise. Like, he's got a -1. I think that makes sense. I think that he's not really that perceptive. He doesn't really know what's going on around him, but he's definitely more in tune with, like, the present events happening to him than, like, the intricate schemes that his brother is currently forcing him through. So I think that'll be low as well. Charisma is another interesting one. Charisma is like force of personality and how much people like you. And Victarion is one of very few characters in A Song of Ice and Fire who has canonically lost an election. So I feel like that's probably an indication that he doesn't have great charisma. My gut is saying somewhere around like an 8 as well. Not unwise, yet he trusts his brother. That's a good point, actually. So insight is also tied to this stat. So insight is like determining hidden motives and this sort of thing. Yeah, you know what? I'll drop wisdom to 8. I'll drop charisma to 7. That will be fun. Strength. I think I'm going to start Victarion off with a strong 16 in strength, given that he is very strong, and that is pretty much his one defining trait. From there, I also think that he has pretty good physical stats all around. He's beefy. I'm going to say he also has, let's say, 16 constitution and 13 dexterity. And then from there, we can go back to the background and then bump up strength by 1 and strength by 2 and dexterity by 1, getting them to even numbers and making their stats kind of round off a little bit. So for reference here, we have an 18 in strength, which is a +4 to all of his strength rolls. Gods, he's strong now. Actually, so someone said low charisma means low intimidation rolls. There is an ability in 5.5e. I actually was just talking about it. Let me go back here. I don't want to open another D&D Beyond menu. Where is it? It's primal something. Primal knowledge. Yeah. While your rage is active, you can use your strength in place of certain skill checks, including acrobatics, intimidation, perception, stealth, and survival, which I absolutely love as a ribbon flavor feature. So intimidation is not to be worried about. He will have that regardless. He has aura from his strength. So 18 strength, 14 dexterity, 16 constitution, 6 intelligence, 8 wisdom, 7 charisma. That seems pretty perfect. Let's see. So we'll go back to the class now and go from there. So ability score improvement from from 4th level. Let's see. So he gets a feat here, and we'll have to decide what that will be. There are so many feats in this new edition, and feats are generally more important. He's a musician, guys. He loves his music and his craft. I think that really fits. He's just an artist, you know? Savage Attacker seems pretty fitting. Once per turn, when you hit a target with a weapon, you can roll the weapon's damage dice twice and use either roll against the target. So we hear of him dealing death with every blow, and I could very much see that as Victarion, being a Savage Attacker. Let me look at other options to see if there's anything that fits any better. Sentinel is also very fun. So in D&D, when somebody moves away from you and you're in melee combat with them, you can make an attack of opportunity. So you can swing at them with your weapon as they're leaving your space. And I think it's a pretty cool feat because it allows you to, when you make that attack of opportunity, you stop them from moving. So they cannot get away from you in that instance. And it's just very fun flavor that I do think would fit Victarion, but I think that Savage Attacker would fit a little better. Thank you very much from the Super Chat from MK Lettuce. Have you ever played a D&D game with a Song of Ice and Fire character? So I did a one-shot recently that is on the channel with Fantasy Haven and History of Westeros and a couple other people where I played an individual by the name of Maester Garner in that instance. Which also, I don't think anybody in the comments picked up on the pun there, which was Maester Garner, GM backwards. He was a rogue. He was very fun to play. He got a lot more kills than I expected. But yeah, that was a ton of fun. I've also, I tend to be a dungeon master more than I tend to be a player, and my world has very much been inspired by A Song of Ice and Fire in a billion different ways. I did a long time ago, back when I was first doing this channel, I think it was like 2021-ish, I had this world-building notebook that I wrote a new page in every single day to kind of add to this world and create this just breathing space for the players to be able to exist in, and I really enjoyed doing that, and a lot of that was inspired by Martin's work. So yeah, I think Savage Dragon, thank you very much for the super chat. Anyone else is also welcome to do that as well. If you have other suggestions for characters you would want to see me do if I were to continue this series, which I might, because it is very fun so far. So he gets extra attack at 5th level, so anytime he takes the attack action on another character, he can attack twice instead of once. This is a big bump up for any martial character. It can double your damage output in any given situation. He also gets fast movement, so whenever he's not wearing heavy armor, his speed increases by 10 feet. This is pretty notable because given the fact that barbarians are such heavy melee combatants, they are very much limited by who they can get to. I had the one game I've run that had a barbarian in it for a very long time. The main difficulty he kept running into by the end of the game was that enemies kept flying, and because of that, he kept not being able to hit them. Are you choosing an origin feat for the ability? Let me see. Origin feat for the ability score improvement feat. So the origin feat he got from his background was Tavern Brawler, not anything for ability score improvements. I'll probably do an ability score improvement at 8th level to bump up his stats just a little more and make sure he's the best warrior he could be. He gets another subclass feature at 6th level, that being once per active rage, when you fail a saving throw, you can re-roll it with a bonus equal to your rage damage bonus, and you must use the new roll. That's a very cool feature that's new in this new edition. I'd never seen it before, but I'm a fan. It allows kind of this thought that your god is guiding you and reinforcing you when you are being attacked by someone who is trying to, attack you. Oh, you're saying Savage Attacker is an origin feat, and it could be better to pick something else. Yeah, that's a good point. I'll take a look at some others. Skilled Slasher could be good. So anytime that he would deal damage with a weapon that uses his uses slashing damage, he would get to do some extra effects. So he would hamstring. Once per turn, when you hit a creature with an attack that deals slashing damage, you can reduce the speed of that creature by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. And additionally, when he scores a critical hit or a natural 20, he deals slashing damage to a creature. It has disadvantage on the next on attack rolls until the start of the next turn. So that's quite good, actually. I would say that is a lot more powerful. Thank you for pointing that out. Who pointed that out? Yeah. Nami, thank you for pointing that out. Are you going to continue that? We will see. I think we'll increase his strength score. That should be pretty good. So that'll be up to 19 now. Ideally at level 8, that'll mean we get another half feat. So yeah, that'll be good. He also gets 2 abilities at level 7. He has advantage on initiative rolls. For those who might not know, although I would imagine many do, it's a fairly famous turn of phrase from the game. Rolling initiative is what happens when you go into combat. You determine the order by rolling and adding your dexterity modifier, and this allows him to have advantage. So he rolls twice, takes the higher. It makes it more likely that he is going to roll and go first at any given point. Additionally, he gets Instinctive Pounce, which is also really cool. As a part of the bonus action you take to enter your rage, you can move up to half your speed. So you can get faster for that first turn where you are turning this rage on, getting online, and getting all of your abilities ready. Vidor, thank you. Your first stream. I appreciate you hopping on and joining us. And I hope you guys can't hear the very loud fire truck that is driving right by my window. Hopefully that goes fairly quickly. My town is fire prone. There are a lot of fire trucks around. So he gets one more feat before we go on to another section of this sheet, given the fact that at 8th level he gets one. Let's see. Ability score improvement could be good, but I think I'd prefer to give him something else, something that would give him some sort of ability. What does Athlete do? Increase your strength or dexterity score. He gains a climb speed. It doesn't seem that Victarion to me. Charger? What is that? I don't know. I don't think he'd be charging much on a ship is the issue, so I don't think that's a great idea as well. Defensive Duelist. Durable. I don't know. So it would increase his constitution, but that also wouldn't end up helping him all that much. Let's see. Another half feat would be good. Grappler could be good. Punch and grab. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike as a part of the attack action on your turn, you can use both the damage and grapple option. You can use this benefit only once per turn. You advantage on attack rolls against creatures grappled by you. Fast Wrestler. You don't have to spend extra movement to move a creature grappled by you if the creature is your size or smaller. I really like Grappler. It ties into the idea of being a kraken in my eyes, being able to grab things with the tentacles. And we do see him grab Talbot Sari and throw him into the sea to kill him in a Feast for Crows. And it allows us to bump our strength up to 20, which I quite like as well. I think that fits quite as well. Durable because George can't kill him. That also fits very, very well, I would say. So yeah, I think that's pretty good. Let's see. That's all of the class abilities here, but there is more to go. So he's a human. All Song of Ice and Fire individuals are humans, unfortunately, other than Children of the Forest and maybe Bloodraven at this point. Where's human? There's human. So let's see. Humans get a variety of features. Victarion is not small. I would say he's medium, bordering on large. He gets the generic 30 feet. He gets Resourceful, which is Heroic Inspiration, so a reroll every time he finishes a long rest. He gets a free skill of any kind. Let's see. He's not that skilled is the issue. I'm not sure what else he would get here. Maybe walk with me here. I think History might be the only option that would make sense for a skill for Victarion to get. He knows the old ways very well. But out of these options, he already has Acrobatics. Animal Handling. Maybe Animal Handling for dragons. That could be good. I might go with that because I don't think that That makes more sense than history, because I don't think he knows anything about history. Persuasion, religion, sleight of hand, stealth. He's terrible at all of those things. He's not that skilled. That's the issue. Oh yeah, he gets a free origin feat. Thank you. That is what was referenced in the chat earlier. I'm going to go with musician, because I think it speaks to his artistic nature. No, I'm probably going to go with tough, which is a fairly simple one, but it means that your hit point maximum increases by an amount equal to twice your character level whenever you take this feat. Also, whenever you gain a character level thereafter, your hit point maximum increases by an additional 2 points. Oh, nature could be good. I'm going to go with nature. That's a great point. We'll do nature. But yeah, tough is a great feat because it kind of keeps on giving at that point. Anytime you level, you get something good. And then languages, that's an issue for D&D and not Victarion. I'm going to go giant, makes sense. And Goblin. You can speak Goblin. Oh, thank you. We have another super chat from Cuscoful. Thank you very much. Mr. the GM, have you ever planned a role-playing session with other Song of Ice and Fire creators? What system would be best for a campaign? So yeah, I did that one shot, but that wasn't anything long-term. I would love to do a longer campaign with people. The issue being that the system doesn't quite fit D&D all that well. And there are a number of other systems that I have considered for Song of Ice and Fire. There isn't a Song of Ice and Fire role-playing game, but I've heard mixed reviews of it, and I'm not sure if anybody really knows how to play it is the issue. My other thought was maybe something like Call of Cthulhu could be fun, given the fact that, it is sort of this world that is dealing with the supernatural, but the supernatural isn't necessarily an everyday occurrence. Albeit Call of Cthulhu is very kind of focused on the modern era. We would need to change a few things. So that would be very, very fun as well. I think that's... I would love to do a longer form campaign with people. I would need to set something up for that. But I have talked to a couple people about ideas bordering on that realm. But yeah, no, he speaks Giant and Goblin. We all know this about Victarion. That is essential to his character. We already have his abilities. We can look over them again now that... Shouldn't his strength be... What about his feats? Have those been factored in, or is that on the final sheet? Let's do equipment, and then we'll take a look. Great axe, hand axes, that's perfect. We'll start with that, and then we'll go with that as well. Just give generic starting equipment to Victarion. He will wield a great axe and a hand axe. Let's see what else. So we're going to add some more items because I think that is likely Victarion will have more items than a starting adventurer, given the fact that he is not a starting adventurer at this point. Oh, there's a Call of Cthulhu Dark Ages supplement. I will have to look at that because I think that would be genuinely excellent. Have you considered the heavily armored feat? Victarion is known for heavy armor. So that's the tricky thing. Barbarians can't rage in heavy armor, but there is such a thing as half plate in D&D. As I've been recently familiar with in Baldur's Gate 3, because I've just started playing a Swords Bard for the first time, which is such a fun build for hand axes. Yeah, that's not quite enough. They're going to end up all in the ocean. I'm adding a battle axe for Victarion here, and then half plate armor. Good. So let's add those things as well. Wield a hand axe. I already was wielding a hand axe, goddamn. Half plate and a battle axe. We'll use the backpack as well. And beyond that, there was another thing. There are these things, which I wanted to include for Victarion, because I think it does fit his hand fairly well. These tattoos that were introduced in, I think, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. And they are effectively these things like you use these crystals and you tattoo it into your skin, and it allows you to kind of manifest this magical effect. And I was going to see if any of them worked for this hand of fire that Victarion has been given by this red priest Makoro in A Dance with Dragons. Honestly, Eldritch Claw sounds pretty fitting. Let's see. Claw-like forms, other jagged shapes. Magical strikes. You can empower the tattoo. Your melee attacks with a weapon or an unarmed strike have reach up to 15 feet away from you. Damn. Inky tendrils. That doesn't sound quite like the firearm, though. So maybe coiling grasp or something. More inky tendrils. That's a big thing with these tattoos, apparently. Let's see. I'm gonna go with the Eldritch Claw tattoo. I think that fits pretty well. There is another... Hold on. Okay, there's another item that I thought maybe could have worked, but let's see. So we'll add that tattoo, and then we should be able to look at the sheet there. So there's still a charge in it. Let's see what the sheet looks like. Strength 20, 101 hit points. He's pretty beefy for somebody who's only 8th level. Breaking 100 at this point, especially on fixed HP, is very impressive. So we will attune to the Eldritch Claw tattoo. Let's see. Thank you for the super chat from John M662. I have a theory, and it's from a video I watched about Maegor Brightflame being alive in A Song of Ice and Fire. My theory is that Wisdom Helene is Maegor Brightflame. Funny you should bring that up. I think I saw a similar video on Maegor Brightflame. I might have been the one by Somewhat Annoyed Llama. It's a very good video. I'd highly recommend it. But I have another theory as to what role the Bright Flame line is going to play in A Song of Ice and Fire, and that will come into fruition tomorrow. The video is very nearly done. I'll probably tease it at the end of this stream, but Wisdom Helene being Bright Flame is an interesting thought as well. I've seen people pitch, Maester Marwyn being Maegor as well. No, I think it's not that excuse me, I lost my train of thought. It's not that Maegor Brightflame is someone in my eyes. It's that he fathered someone that we know in the main series, and I'm excited to discuss it. But for real, I unironically believe that GURPS is probably the best. Can somebody say what GURPS is? People keep saying it in the chat, and I'm not 100% sure what that is. Quinn Stone, Father, how long has it been? I began my time at the Citadel. I hope to make my first link by year's end. There's talk of Iron Men. Oh, good luck. Stay strong. Resist the invasion. Good luck in your first link. I wonder which link you're achieving at this point. But I am very proud of you if you do. If indeed you are mine. But yeah, no, beyond that, I will say the Bright Flames became redundant after George invented the Blackfires. I have a video on that in the past as well where I discuss a generic universal roleplay system. Thank you. How did I not hear about that? I'd never heard that term before, and I apologize. I've been out of the TTRPG space for a little bit here. But no, the Bright Flames were very clearly going to be this initial version of the Blackfires before Martin came up with the current iteration. But beyond that, I think that they could have some element in the main series. I think there is some hint in that direction. But this is what I have for Victarion's character sheet. The 14 dexterity actually works out really well, given the fact that the maximum you can get as a bonus to medium armor is adding 2 of your dexterity score, so he is getting the maximum possible from this armor. I will say, do we know if Victarion wields a shield at any point? I will add a shield to his equipment. I'm not sure if he should be wearing one. Let me see, how do I add items? Add items, shield. There we go, because that could bump his armor class by 2 further, which could be good, because Victarion is very much a tank, and wants to be a tank, because there really isn't a ton else he can do. Wow, his passives are kind of sad, but yeah, 20 strength, 14 dex, 16 constitution, 6 intelligence, maybe 5 intelligence. That might be more fitting, I would say. We'll bump intelligence down by 1. There we go. He had a shield while attacking the Sherry ship. The Sari ship. Yeah, I'll add the shield there so we can fully min-max our Victarion here. So he has an armor class of 19, which is very impressive, especially for somebody who's on a ship. And I do think that half plate would very much cause him to sink into the water, as full plate would and probably will in the future. Give Victarion a single of Warlock. I thought about that. When I was initially planning this stream, I wasn't sure if people were going to say, oh, Victarion should get a level dip in Paladin or in Warlock for this new relationship with the Lord of Light. I thought about it, but I don't think his charisma would be high enough to multi-class. I really like that idea. For the Fire Hand, you can instead do the Magic Initiate feat and choose the spell Burning Hands. I'm going to do exactly that, because I think that's a lot better, and I'm not going to replace any of the feats he already has. I'm just going to give him a bonus feat, because that is what he is doing here. Let's see, Magic Initiate. Let's say Magic. Who gets Burning Hands? I think Wizards get. Well, let's go Druid. I think Druids get Burning Hands probably. I get to choose an option. Wisdom. Okay, he also would get cantrips at this point. So I'll say resistance makes sense. I will say mending can just be him, like, fixing things on a ship. Do you get burning hands? You don't. God damn it, you don't get burning hands. We will undo that feat because now Victarion is a wizard. Perfect. That really fits. He'll choose, what's his highest? Wisdom. He will choose Blade Ward. That fits. And Mind Sliver. I think that fits as well. And then we'll go Burning Hands for that spell. Thank you. That's a really good idea to add. Druids get Produce Flame. I think Burning Hands fits a little better, at least just in the name alone, being that. So now Victarion has a spells section. I can't say I expected that. But, a dexterity save of 10. Oh, no. Yeah, no, that's an interesting... Someone's asking if we'll get a continuation of the Song of Ice and Fire D&D stream. In some form or another, yes. It is unclear if it'll be that exact game. Thank you, Kuskaful. Fun fact, did you know the first law of Bravos is the same that the first article of the Mexican Constitution? I did not know that. What is the first law of Bravos? I don't know much about Bravos. Let me see. No man, woman, or child in Bravos will ever be a slave, thrall, or bondsman. Really? That's interesting. Let me see. Yeah, you're right. That's really funny. I didn't realize that. That's a fun little detail. Yeah, no. If he had Blade Ward while fighting Sari, that he wouldn't have gotten Burning Hands. That is a good point, but he has it now. So for those who don't know, Blade Ward is a spell that makes you more resistant. Also, the reason I'm taking it is it is entirely it's entirely redundant with Rage, and it's also worth noting that Victarion cannot cast spells while raging, given the fact that he is, a barbarian, and barbarians need to exert all of their mental force at being angry rather than being able to do fun stuff like casting spells. I've talked about Bravos a little bit. I haven't talked about Bravos a ton on the channel, which is, just certain areas have maybe been focused on a bit less. I've been meaning to do a video on Arya and the Faceless at some point, given the fact that their magic is quite different between the show and the books, and there are elements of the magic in the books that really seems quite a bit different from what we see in the show, and I do think that'd be very interesting. But yeah, no. Let's see. You know what I kind of want to do? Yeah, let's do this. I'm going to make another character as well and do a fight maybe, because I think that'd be a fun way to end it. You guys can take a quick look at all my old characters from all my old games. Create a character. Let's create a character. We're going to be very quick about it. We're going to name him Sir Talbert Sari. He's just like a generic human knight, so we'll find some portrait that fits that. That looks close enough. Optional class features should be on. Let's see. Oh, the first rule of Bravos is don't talk about Bravos. Yeah, that seems it as well. We're going to create Talbert Sari and have a fight between him and Victarion as well. So I think he's a pretty standard fighter here. I don't think he's as high level as Victarion, but he does put up a pretty good fight. I'm going to say he's level 6. Let's see. So, Sir Talbot Sari, level 6, core fighter traits. He gets skill proficiencies. I'm going to say athletics and history. He's a knight. Wouldn't Vic's affinity for armor turn him away from barbarian? Barbarians can wear armor. They just can't wear heavy armor. So he's wearing half plate, medium armor, so he's still able to rage, and I think it fits pretty well, balancing the two elements of the character. Fighting style, I think dueling fits in the best with fighter. So when he's holding a melee weapon in one hand and no other weapons, like a long sword and a shield, you get a +2 bonus to damage rolls with that weapon. Weapon mastery, he gets weapon mastery with long sword. He's going to take it with long bow. And then with we'll go hand axe too, give him some range as well. That's pretty good. He also gets Action Surge. So that means he can take 2 actions in 1 turn, which is quite impressive. It's a very fun ability for fighters, and I do think it helps kind of balance the field, as they don't have a ton otherwise. Going to Subclass, I think he'd be pretty generic. Let's see. I'd say Battle Master, honestly. I think that fits pretty well. Student of War, he gets some extra proficiencies. He's going to take Perception. And you know what? He loves brewing. He has a brewery on the side. He's also going to get some maneuvers. At this point, he'll take, actually, this is too complicated. I'm just going to make him a champion, because I think that is a lot easier. So it means he gets a critical hit on a 19 or a 20, and also a remarkable athlete. He has advantage on initiative rolls and athletics checks. He will get an additional weapon mastery. I'm just going to say he gets the glaive for fun. And we'll get into his ability score improvements or feats once we do his stats. His background, he is a noble, or is a knight a background? I think just noble is a background. We'll go with that. He gets persuasion, and he will get he'll get perception. He's good at seeing things. He'll get skilled. So goddamn, he gets so many skills. Acrobatics. He gets proficiency in bowls, and he can play the fiddle. Great. We're really fleshing out Sir Talbot Sari's background. And then we'll do his stats first. He'll be a human. That fits for him. He is, as far as we know, not a squisher, so I will put him as a human. He is medium, skillful. He gets another goddamn skill. He'll do intimidation, because he's a knight. Versatile, he gets an extra origin feat. I'm going to have him take tough as well. So I think that'll make it a little bit more of a fair fight, and I'm not even going to bother with languages. I will give him point buy. I will bump up his strength, his dexterity, his constitution, and yeah, his wisdom can be pretty low, given the fact that he decided to take on Victarion Greyjoy in combat. So he's not the wisest. He's young. He's trying to make a name for himself. He has proficiency in darts. He loves throwing darts. Let's see. Strength, intelligence, and charisma. Okay, he's going to take a +2 to strength and a +1 to... Oh, right, sorry, that was reversed. +2 to strength, +1 to charisma. I've officially given Talbot Sari more love than Martin did. Yeah, that's true. And I love him for it. So we're going to have to go back to ability score improvements here. Let me look at his scores again. Okay. I'm going to just take the first one to bump up his dexterity and charisma to 14 apiece, just because I think that's boring, and he is also boring, but he'd also probably have slightly higher stats. Not con, we'll go charisma. He will also get tactical shift. Whenever you activate your second one as a bonus action, you can move up to half your speed without provoking an opportunity. Neat. So he also gets this thing called second wind, so he can heal himself, which is pretty neat. Fighters get a little more durability that way. What else? Heavy Armor Master could be fun. Increase your Constitution or Strength score by 1 to a maximum of 20. When you're hit by an attack when you're wearing heavy armor, any bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage is reduced by an amount equal to your proficiency bonus. So I'll increase his strength. Con by 1. And yeah, we now have a Talbot Sari. And we are going to just give him gaming set. He gets bowls. And then a lot of gold because he's a rich kid. And then in terms of adding items, I believe he was also wearing plate. So just normal plate armor, a long sword, a long ship. Yeah, that too. Long sword and a shield. All right, so you guys have seen how quickly I can speedrun making a character. Are you guys ready for the combat of the century? Let's make sure that all of this is correct. It looks correct. Did I put fixed in the hit points? Let me make sure. Fixed, good. Okay, so we are rolling initiative. So we have met on the high seas. Victarion Greyjoy has just leapt onto the ship of Sir Talbot Sari, and we are now going to see who goes first. That is a natural 20 for Victarion's initiative for 22. and I am going to guess that Talbot Seri cannot match that. So yes, Victarion will be moving first. Victarion Greyjoy is going to, as a bonus action, rage. So as a part of that, he will become enraged. Let me see. I think there's a way to activate rage on the character sheet on D&D Beyond, but I'm not positive on that. I guess not, so I'll just have to remember he is doing an extra couple damage while he's raging. So yeah, rage damage. What is the barbarian features table? Hold on. I'm just checking in to make sure I know how much damage he's doing with rage, because I don't want to accidentally disadvantage Victarion. He's doing 4 extra damage per hit. So, we see Victarion getting the jump on Talbot Seri, rushing up to him, and raising his battle axe for 2 attacks. He's going to be unreckless to begin with. So, let's see. That is an 11 to hit on the first, which misses the armor class of Talbot Seri. Talbot Seri deflects it with his shield, and now Victarion's going to be reckless because he doesn't want to miss again. So he rolls twice, takes the higher. The higher of those is a natural 20. I believe he has brutal critical, which is not good for Talbot. Actually, he doesn't. I think that's level 9, so Talbot is saved. So it is 1d8 plus 9 slashing damage. Goddamn. And the result of that is doubled. Wow. Okay, so 8 doubled to 16 plus 9 is 25 points of slashing damage on the first hit. So 26 damage, right? Yeah, 26 damage. Or no, 25. Sorry, 25 damage on the first hit. Talbot Seri has taken one big hit as he kind of reels back from the battle axe, crushing between parts of his armor. It is now his turn to act. He's going to start by using his Second Wind feature, which is a bonus action. He gets 3 of those. Damn, okay. So we will roll 1d10 plus 6. He heals for 13 hit points. We will heal him back up. And now he is going to take 2 attacks with his longsword. He has advantage on these because Victarion was foolishly reckless. The first one is a 21 to hit, which hits. We'll roll damage for both at the same time, so we'll just roll both to hit here. And then, yeah, both of them hit. So, let's see. That is damage twice, so 1d8 plus 5. That is 9 damage, halved, because Victarion is raging, down to 4, and then another 9 damage. So 9 halved to 4 again, because you round down when you're halving damage in D&D. So that is a total of 8 points of damage to Victarion Greyjoy from Talbot Seri's first round of combat. We are back to... Oh, sorry. I forgot about mastery properties. Victarion is not pushing him away with this battle axe, but... Talbot is going to sap with the longsword. So Victarion has disadvantage on his first attack roll, which he is going to cancel out with reckless attack. So the first attack is just going to be regular for Victarion. For those who might just be joining us, I am, talking to myself and reenacting a battle from A Feast for Crows in Dungeons & Dragons. I believe that doesn't hit, so the first one goes wide as he is distracted by these paper cuts he has taken from Seri so far. The second one will have advantage because it is not sapped. That will definitely hit with a 22, so another 12 plus 4 is 16 points of damage to Sir Talbot Seri, who is still alive, which is more than I expected. I expected 2 rounds. But let us see. We are back. Actually, are there any other... I forgot about one of Victarion's features, both of these rounds. So let me go back and check of this. So, Warrior of the Gods, he can heal himself as a bonus action. We'll get back to that in a second. But features and traits. While he's raging, because he is a Path of the Zealot, the first time that he hits Talbot on his turn, 1d4 plus 6 extra radiant damage happens. So we'll just subtract 1 from this twice. That is a total of 8 damage and a total of 7 damage. So 15 more damage from, good God, the subclass features of Path of the Zealot. We are back to Talbot Seri. He is going to, again, bonus action, heal himself. And he rolled the max, which is kind of necessary here for him to stay in the fight. He heals for 16 hit points of damage, up to 37. He's no longer bloodied, but he is still very injured. He has taken several slashes and is struggling to stay on his feet. And he is going to... Yeah, you know what? He has advantage on all of his attacks against Victarion. He's going to action surge and take 4 attacks on Victarion. So, let's see. First one is a natural 20, so that is 1 crit. Let's see. 1 crit. That will hit, so 1 crit, 1 normal hit, advantage. That's 2 normal hits, and then the last one will be... Okay, so 3 hits and 1 final crit. So we'll roll the crit first, because we'll double the dice on that. That is a very unfortunate one to crit. That is a total of 9 damage on the first, halved to 4. We will roll again for damage, so 4 damage on the crit, plus a total of 11 halved to 5, so that's 9 damage total, plus another 3, which isn't great, so we are at 12, and then the final hit is 9 halved to 4, so we are at 16 points of damage. That was quite the effort by Sir Talbot Seri. Oh, that was not... I did not mean to heal Victarion. So we will damage and then damage. Yeah, no, it's pretty good. It would have really hurt if Victarion wasn't raging and didn't half all of that. So Talbot Seri has the ability to move because of that thing he got as a level... Excuse me. I'm talking too quickly and too much. Tactical Shift. When you activate your second wind as a bonus action, you can move up to half your speed without provoking opportunity attacks. So he could do this, but he is also on a ship. So unfortunately, he cannot escape anywhere at this point, which is quite unfortunate. So he's just going to stay where he is and hope to survive this round. Victarion is now taking some damage. He's going to bonus action, Warrior of the Gods, and he's going to spend 2d12 to heal himself. It's 2d12 plus, or it's just straight 2d12. So I'll just roll this twice and not add the modifier. That is an 8, and that is a 1, so total of 9 damage healed. So he's back up over 70, and he's going to take his 2 more attacks. He's going to not be reckless on the first one because he didn't like getting hit 4 times. And he's going to hit with it with a 21, just over Talbot Seri's armor class. This is going to do... That is 11 plus 4 is 15, plus the extra 1d6 plus 4, which is another 8. So 14 plus 8 is 22 on the first. God damn. Yeah, barbarians are kind of insane at this point. So that's that. And then he gets 1 more attack, because why shouldn't he have one? And it's an 18, so it hits. He is going to do... another 14 points of damage to Sir Talbot Seri, leaving Talbot Seri with 1 hit point. And it is now his turn. So Talbot is going to use his last... He already used his action surge. Use his last second wind to heal and get some hit points back. He gets 12 hit points back, so he's still up a little bit at lucky number 13 hit points. And then he will make his 2 attacks with his longsword. Not at advantage, because Victarion did not, unfortunately, go reckless, as he would have liked. So, first one misses. He's just so winded and isn't able to quite raise his longsword high enough to strike at Victarion. And then the second one, with a 12 plus, it's an 18, which I believe... just misses. All of the energy and fight is beginning to go out of Sir Talbot Seri as his turn ends and Victarion begins. Victarion is then going to make a shove action, which is a contested athletics check. So he has advantage on this because he's raging, and Sir Talbot Seri will roll next. That is a natural goddamn 20 for a 28. And then we will go to Sir Talbot, who... cannot possibly succeed, but he will still roll and try. He does not with an 11, and we see Sir Talbot Seri once again pushed beneath the waves by Victarion Greyjoy, where he begins to drown. I don't have the drowning rules for D&D 5 or 5.5 in my head. Whew. Wow, I've not DM'd against myself in a minute. Yeah, R.I.P. Sir Talbot Sari. I'll say that he's probably taken that damage, and he has failed 3 death saves via, drowning. So, dead Sir Talbot Sari. Victarion kind of kicked ass there. He did not take very much damage at all. I would love to do more of this series and maybe pit other characters against Victarion or other characters. But yeah, do you guys have any other suggestions on other characters I should do in this series, or just things you'd like to discuss for a little bit of free chat time here before I draw things to a close? But yeah, pour one out for Sir Talbot Sari. He gave it his all. Being a martial character against the Barbarian is never fun because all of your damage is just being halved. Prime Robert. That would be a fun one, too. I think he'd probably still be a fighter. Robert versus Rhaegar would be very fun. Hound versus Gregor. There are a lot of really good options. I am taking screenshots of this as we speak, so I will have these in mind for next time. Is this 5.5 or 5? It's 5.5 for reference. All of these would be very fun. I decided to do 5.5 because I think it's a little bit more balanced with itself, because as 5th edition kind of wore on, we saw things like the Tasha's Cauldron of Everything subclasses being way overpowered compared to the player's handbook stuff. So I think this is a bit better in terms of overall game balance. What's my favorite class? Paladin. Easily. My longest running player character was a Paladin. His name was Thermidor Luther. I have a video on him on the channel. I think it was the worst video. Not in quality, but it's the worst performing video I've had in my entire life. But it was fun to tell that story. And beyond that, I also really like Warlock. Because I find that it's just a fun way to... Both of those classes are fun ways to have kind of in-baked roleplay options from the jump, and it really encourages, especially new players, to get into the game and finally act as their characters. Oh, Bloodraven, good to see you. You've been suggested here. And yeah, to tease a little bit of what you guys will probably get tomorrow, if I get finished in time, I'm doing a video on Varys, and specifically explaining his motivations for supporting Aegon, which is, honestly, I ended up liking my final verdict here a lot more than I expected to, and I'm very excited to share it with all of you, and I hope you'll all enjoy it. I was also pretty happy with this thumbnail, so hopefully y'all stick around for that tomorrow. It should be out around noon, if indeed it comes out tomorrow. But yeah, no, Simon versus Garfunkel. That'd be fun. That'd be a battle for the ages, it would seem. Least favorite class, I'm not a huge fan of Druid. It feels like it's kind of wearing too many hats. Druid was the first class I ever played, in fairness, back in like sophomore year of high school, and I didn't know how the fuck anything worked. But yeah, no, I enjoyed it. Jaime versus Aragorn. I don't want to get killed by Martin at Comic-Con here. But yeah, no. I will be at Comic-Con in about half a month now, so I hope to see many of you there. But yeah, I think I'll call things here. Thank you all so much again for watching. Be sure to like the stream on your way out, subscribe, leave comments, suggest other characters you'd like to see in this series. If you want me to do this as videos or streams or what have you, this has been a great time. I've really enjoyed doing it, and I will see you all in the very near future. Stick around for tomorrow's video. I am very excited. Jaime versus Hermione versus that Martin blog post. Yeah, that was weird saying Jaime would kill Hermione. But on that note, I will leave you all. Goodbye, everyone. This has been very fun.